Well, and then there was two. We have gone all the way from the winter meetings back in December of 2024 through all the free agency, trade deadline, spring training in February with camps open in Arizona and in Florida for all the 30 Major League Baseball teams. Here we are, two teams remaining, Toronto Blue Jays, Los Angeles Dodgers. Congratulations, both the franchises winning the pennant. But we are now here at the World Series. We are at the Fall Classic. It has been an eventful ride across the entire summer through the spring. I think torpedo bats took the storm back in March and early April, and then they kind of faded, and nobody really cared anymore. And the Tigers jumped out to a major start. They were first to 40 and first to 50, first to 30 wins, and then the Brewers kind of surged from there after the All-Star break, putting together 2+ 10-game winning streaks. But in the end, it's the reigning World Series champion LA Dodgers looking to go back to back, and the Toronto Blue Jays surviving one heck of an American League playoff. You know, getting themselves through, taking the number one seed, beating and surviving the Mariners in 7 games, taking out the Yankees. We'll dive into a bit more, but we are here at the World Series, folks. It is Tuesday, October 21st. It's really, really cool to see some of the emotion that the Toronto Blue Jays fans had. Obviously, the first World Series trip since 1993. Seeing Vlad Guerrero Jr., who was, born in Canada. His dad's a Canadian baseball legend with the Expos, and obviously played with the Angels. Signed that extension before the season, committing to the Blue Jays, and then them committing to, him, and seeing that connection carry through. Great for, George Springer, who had success with the Astros, came there, has had an up and down career, a lot of injuries. Seeing him hit that game, go ahead 3-run homer late in the ball game to put them ahead and eventually seal the deal. It's just it shows in most cases you just get players. Obviously, the Blue Jays. I'm not saying the Blue Jays don't spend money, but they are able to get guys who are contributing, like, um, you know, Clement and Bender and Alexander Kirk. All these guys. It's not just a loaded roster. They have some, pitching where they went and get Hoffman. They had the right call. They had Romano for years. Things just sort of worked out. Gossman coming out of the bullpen, Chris Bassett coming out of the bullpen last night in Game 7. Stars they had spent money on. They went out there and they paid dividends. Max Scherzer getting another trip to the World Series. It's just, it's really cool, to see Toronto have that experience. They're going to be hosting Game 1 and Game 2. The road goes through, TD, the Rogers Center, and it's Toronto baseball. Make your statement. Go shock the world. Believe me, everyone is cheering for you to beat the Dodgers. Clearly a lifelong diehard Brewers fan who's had his soul ripped out. It was terrible, speaking of soul being ripped out, to see the Seattle Mariners, who had never been to a World Series, going in there up, having the lead, taking the first 2 games of the ALCS up 2-0, go back to Seattle, lose those two, tied, and just battling back and forth, and then having a 3-run lead evaporate late in the ball game. Still have not have the opportunity to win an AL pennant and get to the World Series. At least the Brewers have one, but that happened in 1982 as an American League teams. It would have been great if it was Seattle versus Milwaukee. Maybe in the future we'll get that. You got to feel for them. They put everything to it. They had Cal Raleigh, Julio, went out and made some trades, made some bold moves to go get Naylor and Suarez. Their pitching staff was great, but when it mattered, they just weren't good enough in Game 7. It's baseball, it's sports, but it really, I think it drew it in. At least we have one good series, because obviously, on the other side, the Dodgers absolutely, their pitching staff dominated the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers, I think, put everything into the season. Franchise record in wins, led them all of baseball in runs scored, and then when it mattered most in the NLCS, number one overall seed, you get back-to-back historic pitching performances from Blake Snell and Yamamoto, and then Tyler Glasnow pitches well, and then you get 10 Ks and 3 home runs from Shohei in Game 4. The Brewers score 4 runs total in the series, 1 in each game. They had, I think, the worst 4-game stretch and multiple times in Brewers history, regular season and postseason combined, for lack of offense. The inefficiency, the putrid approach. It just unfortunately came at that time of the year. And, it is what it is. It's a small market team, but those guys play hard, and they did it last year, and they've won the NL Central for the past 5 years, I believe the number is. Perennial playoff team. Again, once, it's the third time they've been to an NLCS, second time they've had their hearts broken by the Dodgers in the NLCS. Maybe one year it'll turn around, but right now the Dodgers own it. And that entire team, people talk about, oh my God, it's all about the money, all about the money, all about the money. Well, in the regular season, the Brewers swept them 6-0. They had injuries, obviously, and they were able to withstand the injuries because they had tons of depth and they had tons of money. They went out, why did teams let Blake Snell go? Why did teams let Tyler Glasnow go? Why did teams not, outbid the Dodgers for Shohei or Yamamoto? Even though I think that's probably a pairing deal with Shohei and Yamamoto going to pitch for each other. You're letting Freddie Freeman go play for the Dodgers. You let Mookie Betts get traded there. These are all things that they were either trades or signing him as free agency. They made the moves. You have to look at the other GMs across, the baseball, across all Major League Baseball who have allowed this to happen. Why the Rays? Why the Padres? Why the teams have allowed Blake Snell to leave and become a Dodger? It is what it is. You could talk about the deals. You could talk about the deferred payments all you want, but they all were healthy when it mattered down the stretch, and they are putting on one heck of a show. And I find it very difficult. This is going to take a great effort, in this World Series for the Blue Jays to go, but I'll break that down a little bit longer. If you pay attention this far, welcome to another episode of the Power Rally Podcast. We're connected to the Spinnable Sports Network. You can find us on all podcast platforms as well as Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I'm Fresh. You can find me on Twitter/X via at SS_2Fresh. I'm a contributor to SpinnableSports.com and a co-host of our flagship podcast, the Irrational Confidence Podcast. You also can find that on Twitter/X at IR Confidence Pod. If you're looking for the entire family, at Spinnable Sports on Twitter X, as well as SpinnableSports.com and the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. Hit us up, engage, spread the word, subscribe to the different sites. We want to hear from you any way possible. Kind of already hit, recapping the NL and ALCS, outcomes. Blue Jays 1993, and they go ahead and and get back and repeat history and win another World Series and defeat the LA Dodgers, who seem to have everything moving in the same direction. They pitched lights out, not just versus the Brewers, but they pitched well versus the Phillies. They pitched really good versus the Reds. The team is hitting consistently. Freddie Freeman, Shohei, Teoscar Hernandez, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, Pages, Will Smith. The list is on. It's a loaded team, and they've done it multiple ways. They developed Will Smith. They developed Pages. Other guys filter in. They gave Max Muncy, they revived his career later, and he sort of stepped on. Teoscar Hernandez played for the Blue Jays, by the way, played for the Mariners, had up and downs, settled in really nicely in that Dodger lineup. But, maybe the shoe will fall off and they won't be able to defend. But it's up to Toronto. Toronto's going to have to score 100 runs. I know it comes pretty blatant, but you're going to have to be able to attack these hitters. When you have chances to score, drive them in. It can't just all be Vlad Guerrero Jr. The whole entire lineup is going to have to show up. Pitching wise, there's no easy way to pitch around this Dodger lineup. You just have to minimize the runs. You have to keep them within. If it's 5 runs or less, you consider that at the end of the day a win. Your goal should, as a Blue Jay lineup, score 5 runs. Keeping them at 3 is a monumental effort. The Brewers did it a couple nights, but it just seems like you're trying to plug all the holes in the dam, and eventually that water's going to break through. That lineup is so good. So if you have a chance to score, I don't care if it's small ball, you have to get guys in. You have to deliver with runners on base. Try to challenge Will Smith on the base pass. Try to steal some bags. Try to take some chances. Whatever you can do. You're going to face a tremendous lineup. Probably 2 of the best left-handed bats in all of baseball, in Freddie Freeman and Shohei. You just got to pick your poison, whoever it's going to be. And like the Brewers tried to pitch around Shohei, didn't matter because they basically pitched to him and he took him deep, 3 times in Game 4. You just have to be able to minimize the damage and be able to get through it. Their bullpen most likely is going to have Kershaw and Sasaki come out of it, and Trihan's pitched well. They got some veterans. You're going to get Glasnow. You're going to get Ohtani. You're going to get Yamato, and you're going to get Blake Snell. And they all pitch like they pitched in the LCS. It's pretty tough to be that perfect and that amazing. You have to figure the law of averages is going to come in, and eventually you're going to get some contact, and you're going to get balls that are actually going to drop. So come in with some confidence. You have nothing to lose. Literally nothing to lose. Everyone looks at the Dodger lineup and the entire organization. It's like, all right, that team's loaded. The Blue Jays, everyone's cheering for you, but there's no pressure on you. The pressure's on the Dodgers to repeat. The pressure's on the Dodgers to defend their World Series title from last year. You guys come in there and just chip away, get after it. You're gonna, especially at home, Game 1 and Game 2, just come out there, relax, play, focus baseball, and it'll be just fine. The biggest key, starting pitching. Max Scherzer's been through it before. Chris Bassett, Gosman, how are they going to, and for Savage, how are they going to react to the spectacle and the elevated? They've done it in Yankee Stadium. They took out the Yankees. Now you get the Dodgers. You've already had that experience of having to go into Yankee Stadium and win a game. You had to take on the Yankees, taking on the logo. You've had to take on the Red Sox. You've already had to deal with the logos and the big environments. Being in the American League East, embrace it. It's facing a Dodger lineup. You've faced a loaded Yankees lineup before. Take a deep breath. Take one game at a time. It's a 7-game series, but attack the hitters. And when you have opportunities, find ways to deliver. The Dodgers, the only advice I can give to you is just be yourself. Don't get too cocky. Be yourself. You have the lineup. You have the team. Knock it out. In the end, I'm going to say Dodgers win in 6 games. I just think this team's too good. They're just too loaded. And that top to bottom lineup and that pitching rotation, you get to a Game 6 or Game 7, you're going to see that, Kershaw come out, have his moment. It's a lot to go through. If this goes to a game seven, you know what? I'll just say momentum back in Toronto. Give me the Blue Jays, but 95% chance the Dodgers are winning this thing in six. Just because that team is just so good. And there's nothing about it. It is what it is, folks. Get your players to be better. Make better moves. Don't let studs like these guys become available to the Dodgers. That should be the shout out to all the GMs out there in the world. Develop your players. Make your signings count. Don't overpay for trash. And don't let studs go to the Dodgers. Blake Shell being a free agent, leaving, pitching in San Francisco, pitching in San Diego, pitching and all. Everyone knew he was great. And somehow here he is pitching for the Dodgers. Glasnow was in Pittsburgh, was in Tampa. Somehow you guys let things go through. You get if we're going to put a rule of thumb. If the Rays have good pitchers, start making trades. Start going again. Do not let the Dodgers sort of steal these guys away in one way or another. Be aggressive. Go make moves. Work out the financials later, but go get the guys. Get their control and then have them make your 3-year window, make your run. Don't let Freddie Freeman become a free agent. Okay, guys, it's pretty simple. But you have to be able to. Other GMs have got to financially attack. That's where the whole salary cap questions. I'm going to come into that real quick. Everyone's like, oh, we need to have a salary cap in baseball. You know what? Maybe we need to start looking at the bottom because there are certain ownership groups and franchises where the owners don't spend money. Mark Antonelli of the Brewers. That right there, if they're not spending money, that lessens the opportunities. The teams are like, well, my owner's not going to pay. I'm going to leave. They're making money. Look at the last 5 or 6 years. Revenue, attendance, everything is on the up and up. Media deals are on the up and up. These owners are pocketing the cash. Why aren't they putting money back in? The Dodgers are putting money back in. Other successful franchises are putting money back into their teams. Be aggressive. There needs to be a floor for these ownership groups to spend. There are at least 6 franchises that don't. You look at. I don't have them in front of me, but go look at the salary numbers for 2025 season, salary for 2024, salary for 2023, 2022, 2021. Last 5 years. Do your own research. It's going to be very, very similar across the board, all 5 of those years, with the same 6 or 7 franchises not spending money. And you're going to have the 7, 8, or 9 franchises above it spending tons of money. And then take a look at those ownership groups. What's their profit margin like? Why aren't they reinvesting in the team? Are they just taking the money from the fans for the merchandise and the TV deals, or are they actually putting it back into the product on the field? We already know. This is the thing. Pittsburgh's not going to spend money. Paul Skeens is going to be traded. That right there should not be. That should be the one thing that ownership group is like, look, we've got to sign him. In the NFL, you're able to sign the guy. It's not because really their salary cap, but at least they're investing. Put money into their own product and keep their players. You need to have that here. You need to have that. So here is what needs to be done. Set up a floor, make a number so you have to spend X amount and lift it and force everybody to spend. Take advantage of it, drive it home, but we have to have a floor. I don't care what the ceiling is, but you need a floor. You have to make these owners forced to spend some money. All right, jumping on another fun topic. We are getting close to the wrapping up the 2025 season, but before we know it, March will be here. World Baseball Classic 2026 will be on display. Team USA under the Mark DeRosa leadership, looking to go back and try to reclaim that championship. As you've been paying attention to the podcast, we've been going through and listing out and trying to build our own perfect roster here to Power Alley Podcast. We had Aaron Judge and Paul Skeens. They've already announced the team. We announced it, so they're locked in. We did announce Zach Wheeler early on before he got hurt. I know he don't play in real life, but I'd love to have him on that squad. Kyle Schwarber, Mookie Betts, Josh Hader out of the bullpen release, long relief for closer. Bobby Witt, shortstop. We had him before he was officially announced. Griffin Jacks, Nolan Arenado, relief pitcher Jason Adam. Jason Adam, he's obviously injured, probably not going to be able to pitch, but I want him on the team. The guy's a bulldog in the back of the bullpen. Really tough, but he would have been a great addition. We had Cal Raleigh on our squad before he was officially announced. Mason Miller in the bullpen. The Green in the outfield. Turk Skubal, Pete Alonso, Tyler Rogers in the bullpen. Corbin Carroll, Garrett Roche, Bryce Terang, Logan Webb, Freddie Freeman, and Jeff Hoffman. Ironically, the last episode I picked Freddie Freeman and Jeff Hoffman. They're both going to be facing off potentially in the World Series. Brings us to our 3rd and 20 spots on the roster. Lack of suspense, I'm going Blake Snell. It's going to be a spring training period. Pitching will be ramping up. I want Blake Snell on his left-handed arm out of that rotation where he's long relief for starting in a 3-inning spot. Give me that dude. He can deal. Now we didn't add an extra outfield spot. Could be Brent Rooker, PCA, Cody Bellinger, George Springer, All-Americans. But there's one that I just need on this roster, and that's Byron Buxton. Give me Byron Buxton. He can play center. You can put him left, right. He could DH. The dude could run. A lethal player in this entire roster. Plug and play anywhere in the outfield. This Team USA should be dominant. If these guys all invest in hey, Mark DeRosa, if you make these offers and expand these offers and get the teams to buy in, I want these guys on my club. This will put Team USA in a chance to win. Just look at just generally what the lineup would be. Center field, you can put Aaron Judge in center, you can put him right wherever you need. But Aaron Judge in center, obviously he has, an arm issue. That gets healed. If not, he's a DH him. Aaron Judge in the outfield, Byron Buxton, tradable. Mookie Betts could play second, so could Bryce Durang, or come in late. You can move Mookie to short. You have that taken care of. Cal Raleigh catching. Kyle Schwarber can play right field. He can play first base in a pinch if you need him to. It'd most likely be a DH. Bobby Witt Jr. at shortstop for your number one every day. Pete Alonso or Freddie Freeman at first. Riley Green or Mookie Betts. You can even move to left field and have him play left field if you need to late in the game. Nolan Arenado is a great defensive third baseman. Corbin Carroll in right field. That right there, a lot of interchangeable parts. A lot of, there's no holes in that lineup whatsoever. You can generate tons of offense. Looking at our pitching, from a starter perspective, Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, Zach Wheeler, Garrett Crochet, Logan Webb, Blake Snell. Even in a spring trading ramp up, you can mix and match those guys lefty, righty, and it would create tons of problems. You can even have, especially in spring training, if you need to get innings, some guy maybe starts, the other guy comes out of the bullpen. You have both of them pitching back to back, left or righty matchup. That could be really nasty. Now the bullpen so far, Josh Hader, Griffin Jax, obviously Jason Adam won't be there in real life, but I love him there. Mason Miller, Tyler Rogers, and Jeff Hoffman. Our next episode is recap the entire season. We have one more bullpen pitching spot, and we have one more roster spot to cover up. And then we'll have our full, what I believe and what Power Alley Podcast believes to be our Team USA roster for the World Baseball Classic in 2026. Hopefully, they can get a lot of those guys in there and they push through and go home and get and reclaim that title. In a deep drive to left, we've been doing our power poll, our power rankings all season long. So heading into the World Series, Dodgers right now number 1, Blue Jays number 2, Seattle Mariners my number 3, the Milwaukee Brewers. They were the number 1 heading in, rightfully so, but their playoff performance versus the Dodgers drops them to the 4 seed. Philadelphia Phillies at 5, Cubs at 6. That team is really still very good. I can't, as much as I can't stand the Cubs, they're really good. Yankees at 7, Detroit Tigers at 8, Cleveland Guardians at 9. The Boston Red Sox are my 10th team right now as we wrap up and head into the World Series. Just great across the board. These teams have all, especially the Guardians in that late season surge, what they do and the way they have their franchise set up, they could just produce winners. And so there's something you notice on here. The Guardians and the Brewers, especially, their payrolls aren't huge, but they develop and they have a plan and they attack it and they execute. It's pitching, defense, and the one thing that lacks when it comes down to the playoffs is they don't have enough bats. If they could go out and get themselves another bat in that lineup, that consistent bat, Jose Ramirez does play for the Guardians, but he can't be the only guy by himself. You've got to rest of the line's got to show up. Yes, the Brewers have Christian Yelich, but Yelich is terrible in the playoffs. Hasn't had an RBI since 2018. That needs to be an issue potentially to rest going forward, and he might not be a Brewer in the future. You never know. The bottom 5 remains the same. Rockies, White Sox, Nationals, Pirates, Twins. Sorry about sneeze or choke like the Brewers offense. Those franchises got some soul searching to do, and obviously with the draft being changed where it's not by the worst record, how will it play out? The Rockies ownership group, obviously the GM stepped down. They need to do a complete overhaul. White Sox have shown some improvement. Definitely have some younger players play, and the team actually perked up and played better after that. The Nationals showed some promise at times. The Pirates showed some promise at times, but they both just don't have the weapons across the board. And the Twins got up to an early start, a lot of expectation. That entire team bottomed out, and they jettisoned everyone off the franchise. Maybe 2 years out, they'll regain and get back on track, but that was an experiment that did not produce dividends, whether it's injuries or just lack of everything coming together. But there's some soul searching there in Minnesota that need to fix top to bottom in the organization. All in all, the best bets I can give you for the upcoming week: Blake Snell, strikeouts, Ohtani, home runs, Freddie Freeman, home runs, Vlad Guerrero, RBIs, and just to throw one out there, the fun one, give me like a Dalton Varsho home run or some unexpected Blue Jay. Just pick a random Blue Jay and randomly put $5 on for anytime, a home run. It seems like they have a team of guys who are just going to show up and deliver. I mean, if you really want to go something more steady for a big hit, some RBIs, George Springer from an RBI perspective is not a bad bet either. Before we wrap up here, our next episode will recap the World Series. We'll take a look back at the season. We'll look back at some of the managerial options. There's one very intriguing story right now, kind of blending college baseball and MLB with Tony Vitello, the head coach in Tennessee. He's currently in discussions. Maybe he's going to be the San Francisco Giants manager. Maybe he's not. A lot of unknowns and trepidation there. We'll see. We'll talk more about that as the World Series concludes and kind of look back on it. But for right now, thank you for joining another episode of Spinnable Sports, the Power Alley Podcast on Spinnable Sports Network. I really enjoyed you guys giving our first season. We're going to continue to keep in the off season in the hot stove and then jump into spring training. Take what we've built out, we started with, what works, what we need to get better on, and offer tons more material for the 2026 season. Again, we're the Power Alley Podcast. You can find us on Twitter/X at Power Alley Pod, at Power Alley Pod on Twitter/X. We're connected to the Spinnable Sports Network. You can find us at all podcast platforms as well as the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. I'm Fresh, your host. You can find me on Twitter/X at SS_2fresh. I'm a contributor to SpinableSports.com and co-host of our flagship podcast, the Irrational Confidence Podcast. You can find that on Twitter/X at IR Confidence Pod. Our full focus on our Irrational Confidence Podcast is college football. We do dabble into the NFL, but if you love college football, hit us up on that, and you'll enjoy every second of it. If you're looking to follow more, at Spinable Sports on Twitter/X and our core network, SpinableSports.com. Until next time, we'll get more chattel from the clubhouse, and we'll talk to you later in the Power Alley Podcast. Bye, y'all.